Welcome to Meet the Host. I'm your host, Michael Rippe, and this is the show where we flip the script on the host, interview some of the best and brightest hosts in the game today. On today's show, we have Katerina Cozias.
Mike, it's so nice to be here with you.
And I actually know Katerina from past work together, so it's super exciting that we have Katerina. She is actually America's Media Mindset Mentor.
I am, and it's funny that you say we were on the screen together. So first of all, thank you for having me back and allowing me to share the screen with you. You and I have this great energy as hosts, so I always get excited when you and I can do that, so thank you.
This is amazing.
Yeah, and number two, America's Media Mindset Mentor, I am. I can tell you a little bit about what that means.
Let's hold that for 1 second.
Yeah.
You are going to tell us so much with that. But before we even get into the show, you can find Katerina at Katerina Cozias all over social media. Her website, which I told her before the show, is amazing. You need to check it out if you need help, tips, want to hire. KaterinaCozias.com. Incredible. She's a TV radio show host, best-selling author, empowerment speaker, professional spokesperson. So much to get into. LA 40. We're going to talk about
all of it.
Everything you have going on.
Yeah.
But let's talk about what you just said. America's Media Mindset Mentor.
Absolutely. So I have been in Hollywood for 3 years, but have been playing in the space of media and communications for over 12. And one thing that I do is I work with clients to give them visibility on TV, radio, and print. I do that as a host, and I also do that as a consultant. Now, the thing that came up for me when I'm working with clients, whether they were on my shows or whether I was doing their media strategy for them, is a lot of times they just had this hesitation to show up on camera. And what I realized is it's not so much that they needed media services, they needed a media mindset. So what the heck is a media mindset? Well, it's basically helping people to come into their own version of confidence, charisma, and their communication style. Because at the end of the day, if you don't show up confidently, no one's going to want to hook their wagon to yours. You have to show up with an impression of increase. You have to have people feel like, okay, if I couple with this person, if I buy their product, if they follow their services, I'll advance in some way. But the block was for people to actually show up for their own business. So that's where the mindset part of it comes in.
Well, I love that mindset. Confidence, charisma, immediately you hear it from Katerina and you feel it from Katerina. So it's great because it's coming from you. It's believable, authentic, and I love that you're empowering with those mindset messages. Yeah. Speaking of, you do Media Tip Tuesday.
I do, and it's Media Tip Tuesday today.
Yeah.
So today's tip, if you're not following me on Instagram, please jump over there. As Michael said, it's Katerina Cozias across all my social media, and I'm lucky because my name isn't Jane Smith, so I got Katerina Cozias across every platform.
You did.
Today's tip was love the lens. Every
lens.
Tuesday I give out a media tip, and the reason I said love the lens today is because the more relaxed you can be, the more the lens is going to love you, but you have to love the lens. So how do you do that? By just being relaxed. So my advice to anyone that is about to go do a media appearance, just chill out, relax, and love the lens.
Love it. That's amazing confidence. I was looking at another Media Tip Tuesday.
Okay, what was last week?
Focus on delivery.
Oh,
Focus on delivery. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Right.
So I actually follow Katerina for some of these tips, as anybody can and anybody should, because not just have you the experience, but you're sharing stuff for free regularly.
I think it's important, Mike, and I think the world is actually moving to a place of, leaving the old model of competition, keep the other guy down, knock over the ladder, make sure no one comes up, and we're actually moving to a place of collaboration. So I'm a huge believer in, if I have something that I know that can be of benefit to you, I'm more than happy to share that. And I believe in karma that energy is going to be reciprocated. So I think if more of us were able to share for free content that we actually feel is valuable to other people, people are going to respect that. They're going to want to build some brand loyalty with you. And then when you are selling something, they're going to be like, well, hey, that guy's the expert. That gal's the expert. Let me see what they're about. So, yeah.
So let's tie it in. America's Media Mindset Mentor.
Right.
You're using it on a regular basis. We
Yes.
show, you've got these media tips that you're giving out, but you've got your TV and radio show that you're hosting pretty regularly. It's on Thursdays.
Yeah, so I'm a host with LA Talk Radio and TV. We broadcast every Thursdays out of Sherman Oaks here in Los Angeles.
Beautiful.
And the show is called LA 40. It's a play on the words. Originally was a play on the words Los Angeles and life after 40. Because I was going into my 40s, and and of course, like, you know, heaven forbid we age, Mike, and heaven forbid we age as women, and heaven forbid we age as women in Hollywood.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, I've got one of two choices. I can either pretend I'm 25, or I can be honest about being 39, going into my 40s and figuring out, what does that mean, right? Are we supposed to stop dreaming? Are we supposed to start getting ugly? Are we supposed to stop being sexual? What does that mean? And so my show was originally to explore life after 40. It's taken on a little bit of a transformational, motivational empowerment stint, because that's what I'm all about these days. So yes, if you're not tuning in, tune into LA 40 Thursdays at 11 a.m. Pacific time on LA Talk Radio.
LA Talk Radio.
Yeah.
So you said something interesting. It originally started one place,
right?
And it's kind of
moving
around,
and
morphed into it. And that's just because of how your life in the hosting industry and is going, or what was that?
You know what the catalyst was is I actually came to recognize after naming my show LA 40 that age is really irrelevant. And so I wanted to take the focus off of the age thing. I like the branding. It's kind of fun. It's kind of catchy. But what I realized is, you know, a lot of people, we'll take Martha Stewart, for example. Martha Stewart started Martha Stewart Living when she was 54 years old. Okay, wow. She's now 76, worth $600 million and hanging out with Snoop Dogg. So my point is, you know, life, chapter 1 is 0 to 40. Chapter 2 is 40 and above. Now, the mistake that people make, and society tells us, like, we have to be producing in chapter 1. Chapter 1, though, if you think about it, from the age of 0 to 39, 40, is actually R&D. It's research and development. You're learning, you're growing, you're crying, you're failing, you're succeeding. And then what happens is you move into your 40s and your 50s and your 60s. You take all that experience, you couple it with the confidence that you now have as a human being, because it does come with maturity, and that's when you knock it out of the park.
So interesting. Research and development is your first part.
Right.
So let's go back and let's see where it started.
Sure.
You talk about R&D. How was the R&D for you? Where did you start? And how'd you end up where you are, you know, today?
Yeah, absolutely. So my book is called Rising Up from Mental Slavery: How to Unleash Your Infinite Potential. I know you'll probably get to that a little bit later, but I wanted to bring it out because part of what held me back for a long time was my own self-limiting beliefs. It was, I'm a small town girl from Calgary, Canada. I can't go to Hollywood. Who am I to play with the pretty girls? And what happens if I don't make it in Hollywood, right? What happens if I end up on Sunset Boulevard flipping burgers? So instead of following that calling in my heart, which was always to be a TV host, it was always to be like a brunette version of Barbara Walters, right? But I wasn't allowing myself to live that dream because of these, you know, security, sensitivity, what ifs. And it took a long time for me to get over that. In fact, I didn't even give myself mental permission to live into my little girl dream. I was 15 years old. I used to run around with a hairbrush pretending I was at the Oscars. And it took almost 25 years for that to become a reality. Wow. I did get on the Oscars red carpet during Oscars week. I interviewed Sharon Stone and Elton John and Sting. But again, it took 25 years for that to happen. So part of the message is, if you have a dream, get excited about it and release the time element, right? Because I think it was Steve Jobs. So Steve Jobs foreshadowed in 1983 the iPhone. In 1983, he was on a stage and he was talking about this device that one day was going to bring in all of these things, the map, the phone, the this, the that, music. And he didn't launch that. I think the first iPhone was 2010.
It was early.
So my point is, it took him almost 30 years. So if you have a dream, right, regardless of what that is, please don't let age be a limiting factor.
So I was going to say, when did you begin hosting? But it sounds like you began hosting when you were a little girl.
Well, yeah, I mean, I began hosting as a hairbrush. You know, my thing is presentation, confidence, charisma, communication. And what I did is I moved into the world of media. I work with brands, and actually I work with high net worth individuals to really counsel them on strategically developing their language. How do you develop your language for success? And the thing that's happened is, about 30, 40 years ago, I would meet you one-on-one, and we'd have like a 20-minute attention span we could give each other. Then that started moving to about 12 minutes. Then that started moving to about 3 minutes. And now most of us have a problem going through a 60-second Instagram video, right?
It's true.
Like you get people like Gary Vee and Ty Lopez, and they've got the little ticker on the bottom, right? Because if I don't see it's almost near the end, I'd probably scroll down. So part of it is, how do you communicate effectively? And what I realized was, after working for 12 years behind the scenes and helping people to get on the cover of the Robb Report and get into the Wall Street Journal as a media strategist, I've done it internationally. So I've worked in Hong Kong and Dubai and London and Monaco and all these cool, fun places, and that was awesome. But damn it, I had this little dream in my heart to be a TV host in Hollywood. And I literally woke up one day a few months before turning 40, and I thought, well, shit, if I don't try, I'm never gonna get there. And I did not want to get to the age of 90 with regret. So I thought, well, off we go to Hollywood, and best decision ever made.
And so you're originally from?
From Canada, from Calgary.
Calgary.
Yeah.
Calgary.
Yeah.
All right. Born and raised?
Born and raised, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then right to Hollywood from Calgary?
No,
or?
from Calgary I went to Europe. I lived in Europe for 5 years,
Uh-huh.
between Greece, Spain, and France.
Amazing.
Which was cool.
Yep.
And then from there I moved to Miami, where I lived in Miami for 7 years, which was a heck of a lot of fun. But there was no
Miami
real
nice.
TV in Miami, see. And when I made the decision to become and really step into that hosting side, I thought, well, I don't speak Spanish. There's Telemundo there.
That's right.
So it was either New York or LA that made sense for media. And New York just had weather that was too similar to Canada. And I couldn't do that again. So
Couldn't do that again.
LA won simply by virtue of weather.
So you from Calgary all the way to LA,
Yeah.
home base out here now,
Right.
but you're traveling frequently.
I'm traveling frequently. I have a lot of projects on the go.
And a lot of that you're doing is you're doing a lot of empowerment speaking,
Yes.
presentations, a lot of these conferences that you're at.
Yeah.
Talk about how the connection between TV hosting
Right.
to live event
Right.
moderating, presenting, speaking.
Yeah, well, I love that this is Meet the Host, because as hosts, we have media training that definitely comes into play regardless of what vehicle we're using it on. So we have a certain skill set. We know how to look at the camera. We know how to engage with the camera. But that skill set is also transferable to live events.
Definitely.
The thing with live events is, and what's different, is that you actually have to engage with the audience. Not that we're not engaging now, but it's an audience through the lens. And the fun thing about live is you feel that people energy. It's also a little challenging though, because if the people don't have the energy and you're up there trying to give it, you
kinda have to
right? You
create
kind
it.
of have to create it yourself. So I think for hosts, I think a lot of us, the reason we're here is because we're good at getting people excited. We tend to be high energy people. You don't see a lot of low energy hosts.
No, otherwise they're not hosts for a while.
Right? Yeah.
So when you're doing these conferences and speaking segments, are you talking specifically about the media and branding, or where are you as far as lately with these conferences?
So my wheelhouse is, as he mentioned, America's Media Mindset Mentor. And part of what makes up a mindset I talked to was confidence, charisma, and communication. So I get up there and I actually share that 5% of how we communicate comes from our words. 30% comes from our voice, our tonality, the things we say, how we say it, the articulation, the enunciation. Think about this. So boys, have you ever had a girlfriend where you ask her, hey honey, are you upset? And she goes, nope. So are you listening to her word or are you listening to the voice, right? Which leaves about 50 to 55% that comes from body language. And what I train on is, are you using your body language correctly? Are you smiling? Are your feet pointed in the right direction? Is your eyebrow raising? And if your eyebrow is raising, what does that signify to the person on the other side? So these are great skills for anyone, whether you want to be on camera or not. If you're in a position to be negotiating with a client, with an investor, with a potential partner, you want to be really aware of the command you have over your body language. And even more so, and this is the trippy part, in 2018, guess what the average American's attention span is?
6 seconds.
Almost 8 seconds. 8 seconds. So now the conversation becomes, what is the communication of the future?
That's
right. How are you going to engage someone in 8 seconds or less? And you know how that is? It's not through voice, it's not through words, it's not even through body language. It's going to be 100% your alignment with your energetic flow and your essence. It's going to be your energetic stamp. Are you leading with your energetic stamp? And if you are, people are going to feel you before you even walk through the door.
mind-blowing stuff right here. We're getting like tips on tips.
Lots of information.
You've brought it in, amazing. I want to focus on when you are either, you talked about, you're at conferences or you're at workshops and you're speaking, and people's attention span, it's short.
Yeah.
How do you deal with, let's say, guests?
Sure.
Or people when they're the guests and you're speaking to a crowd, but how do you deal with them if their energy is low or they're difficult, or how do you spin that when you have, let's say, difficult guests as an interview?
Absolutely. So someone that's a master at this is Oprah Winfrey, of course, right?
Sure.
Oprah is such a master communicator because she gets you to listen. She listens to you, she speaks to you, she gets you to speak back, and then she gets everyone else involved. So the mastery becomes, how do you take it off of yourself and make it engaging for the audience? I think that's the key to a good host, right? I mean, you get some people and their heads get a little inflated after a while. No offense, Chelsea Handler, but that happened to her. It really did. She was great at the beginning, and then all of a sudden she was out of touch and flying around on a private jet. No one remembered who the heck she was because, they knew who she was, but they didn't feel connected to her at all, right?
She lost her sense of self.
She lost, a little bit. So the point is, it has to be about the audience, not about you. And if you can get yourself into a place where you're really trying to anticipate what's the other guy thinking, that I think is a key to a good host.
I like it. I also like how there's we've thrown Chelsea under the bus.
Oh, sorry, Chelsea.
That's okay.
Yeah, who am I to talk, right?
No. So you're developing questions. You got to guess. Like I have you on today,
sure,
or
yeah.
I have different hosts that come through. I develop my questions. Do you like to develop your own questions? Do you like to take crowdsource? How do you feel like the best questions that you could ask can be created?
Yeah. So I'm a big believer in do your research, right?
Sure.
Like I want to know who this person is that's coming on my show, and I want to know everything inside out and backwards. But I also think it's important to have preparation and allow for flexibility, because you want to make sure you're not one of those hosts that has your 10 questions and you're going to just ask the question regardless of what the answer is, right? So you and I might be talking, and if I'm listening to you, and all of a sudden you're talking about your dead dog, but I'm so intent on asking question number 3 that I skim over that. The people watching at home are going to be like, what the heck, chick? He just talked about his dead dog and you're asking him about the weather?
Yeah.
So I think as a host, you have to keep it malleable enough that if you get thrown a curveball, you'll actually be able to handle it.
Go with it.
So in terms of questions for me, I like to develop my own questions. And I also try to think of questions that maybe they haven't been asked before, right? That's the key. A lot of the people that we interview have been interviewed 100,000 times. So how do you get them excited about being interviewed by you?
Gotta be different.
And I think it's asking things that are a little bit outside the box.
Yeah. Okay. Not sure if you've been asked this. Maybe it's a follow-up then, trying to what you said. But given the opportunity, is there a charity that you would spearhead or lead?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm actually an advocate with a couple of organizations right now, but I'm newly involved with UNICEF.
UNICEF, okay.
Yeah. So going to be going to Washington in March for the big International UN UNICEF conference and convention, and doing a lot of work. I really believe, I don't have kids myself, and I really believe, like it's cliche, but the kids are the future. And
Absolutely.
80% of the world's population right now is living in poverty. I mean, think about that, 80% of the world's population. That's ridiculous. And we run around, in Hollywood, and our biggest concern is, oh shoot, I bashed my Mercedes into a cement pole yesterday and I have a hole in my bumper. Okay, but is that really a problem? What can we focus on? And I have the time to devote, so that's one of my causes.
That's a great cause.
Yeah.
You also are focused, I know, there's a lot of women causes. I know there's something coming up in February.
Yes, so I'm co-producing a new women's conference. It's called Smart Women Rising. And it's effectively, it's going to be happening in Long Beach, February 14th and 15th. It's a 2-day conference, and it's going to be for women by women under a female conference model. Now people say to me, well, what's that? Exactly. Because all the conferences we've ever been to have been under a male model, which is come to the conference, put on a blazer, grab a business card, listen to the speakers, do some networking, go home. And women operate a little bit differently. So part of the reason we're putting this conference together is because there have been a lot of conversations, especially this last year, #MeToo, #TimesUp. So our invitation is #what's next.
Okay.
Awareness was created, excellent, but now what? what are we doing as a collective community to end violence against women? What are we doing to ensure equality? What are we doing to allow for opportunity? And so this 2-day conference, and it's open to men, of course, because it is on Valentine's Day, so we want you men to be there.
You better be there.
But it's going to be, 800-person conference in Long Beach at the Hyatt Convention Center. And it's really about getting people together to further the conversations that have already been initiated.
Well, you said something interesting. You said
Yeah.
that women operate differently than men.
Right.
How so?
So,
In the networking
I'm gonna tell you. So, women, if you're watching, you're gonna get this, and men, I'm gonna bring you into a little secret. So here we are. Everyone's at these business conferences. I'm in my blazer, right? And I go into the restroom. So, what happens in a woman's restroom?
I've never been in one. I don't know.
She takes her blazer off and she starts the chit-chatting, and we actually get super excited and we get animated. We start talking, we start collaborating, we start complimenting, we start asking, we start playing, and then we finish, going to the bathroom, we finish washing our hands, putting our lipstick on, and then we put our blazer back on, we get professional, and we go back out. And it's like, but women can be professional and still be chatty.
Okay.
We just haven't allowed that as a model. So that's part of what's going to happen is we're going to be a little more interactive,
A little bit more
and a
relaxed,
little more
almost, in a
chill.
sense.
Yes.
I like it.
A little more conversational.
Yeah.
So if you are in the Southern California area, and even if you're not, if you're watching this from New York, we have a lot of people that are going to be flying in internationally.
Yeah, anywhere. Come
Smart
to town.
Women Rising. We're creating a Facebook page today for it.
Beautiful, and we'll share that.
Yeah, and please follow me if you're not, because we're going to have a lot of stuff coming through my page as well.
But you've got other, seminars, conferences that you've been a part of that you're,
Yes, that I
actively
spearhead.
doing,
Yeah.
participate in.
Well, you know what happened, Mike, is as a host, I'm used to leading, right? We're in the position of leading the conversation. And what I realized is I can take those leadership skills and I can move them into a lot of different spheres. And that's when I decided to write a book. I've actually published 2 books, and I'm working on my 3rd right now, which is called Make Media Matter for Your Business. And effectively, it just gives a lot of tips on the biggest mistake I see right now as a consultant in the media space is people say to me, let's say a new business owner, and he'll be like, I go, what's your media strategy look like? And he'll say, well, I've got my Facebook page. And I'll be like, okay. And he says, but no, you don't understand, Katerina. It's a Facebook business page. And I'm like, does your mom like your page? Because if you're not leveraging as a business owner all 4 pillars of the media, and those are TV, radio, digital, and print, okay? All 4 pillars, you are absolutely leaving money on the table.
Me writing down your tips right now.
Right, yeah, right. Go back and
Right here,
play
yeah.
rewind. But the thing is, Mike, there's a lot of third-party subconscious credibility that gets built up when someone sees you on your local Channel 6, when they hear you on Sirius XM, when they see you quoted in the Wall Street Journal. So if you're not actively chasing that, if you don't actively have a media strategy in place for your business in 2019, you will be left behind. If you don't, hit me up, because that's what we do, and I'd love to help you, walk you through that.
I love it. This is I'm over here like taking the mental notes right here. Yeah, we're writing down the. You're working on your 3rd book. Any idea
Yes.
when that might be out?
That one I'm aiming to have finished by Christmas of next year.
Okay, so maybe
just
late
because
2019.
authoring is not my priority.
And that's what I was curious about.
Yeah,
That's what I want to
right.
follow
No,
up with.
it's not.
Your
Yeah.
2nd book.
Yes.
Rising Up from Mental Slavery.
Well, Rising Up from Mental Slavery was
First.
number 1.
Okay.
And number 2 is the Change book series. It's Insights into Personal Empowerment. And that one is also in the personal development space. Because again, I'm a big believer, if you're not actively developing yourself, you
get left behind.
Well, what happens is, we wake up every morning, right? And we've got 2 choices. You can either look at life as an opportunity and you start spiraling into this frequency of high activity and fun, or you look at life as stressful, anxious, and oh my goodness, what's going on? I hate my life, I hate my job, I hate my wife. And it really is a choice every morning. And the thing that I say is like, why not assume that every day can be Christmas? You don't know when you wake up in the morning who's going to call you at 2 in the afternoon. Why not assume someone will? Why not assume someone will with some cool news? And just start. And actually, I was interviewing Marianne Williamson, for those of you that are spiritual, Marianne Williamson on Book Circle Online, because I'm a host there as well. Yep. And she coined this phrase that stuck with me, which is called pronoia. And pronoia is the opposite of paranoia.
Wow.
It's assuming that everything is always working in your favor. And I just thought, I like Pronoia.
Way better
So
than
I adopted
paranoia.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's way better.
I like the mindset.
And that's into the mindset stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it sort of all came together for me. It's the TV hosting that got me some skill set in front of the camera that I then leveraged in front of the audiences. The audiences loved it. Then I then thought to write a book. Then it, transitioned my business from pure media tactical to media mindset mentorship, where my company does both. We can help you with your media strategy, but we can also help you with your media mindset. I mean, ask yourself this question, Mike. Did Brad Pitt have any more charisma than you or me? No. He just decided one day it was time to turn his on.
Yeah.
So whether you ever have aspirations of being interviewed on, Anderson Cooper or Oprah Winfrey or Mike Rippe's show, or not, even if you're a plumber, why not be the best damn charismatic, confident plumber you can be? Walk into that room using your energetic stamp first. I promise you your business is going to get referrals.
Yeah, well,
it's inevitable.
Anybody that's watching right now
Right?
clearly knows why your brand and Katerina Cozias has been blowing up as I've seen it. We worked together years ago, and to see the growth and to see it all coming together and fruition is, it's incredible. But
thank you.
You can learn so much just watching you. I'm sitting here, interviewing you, and I'm feeling like maybe I should just be taking the notes because you're giving so much great tips, advice.
Cool.
It all goes around with your whole brand and image. Time frame it takes though to put out a book, because I'm curious. I'm sure people are watching and maybe they say, I wanted to write a book though. Right. You say you're not an author, you got a lot going on, obviously it takes, but how long did it take you to do that first book?
So from conceptual idea to finished printed copy in hand was 14 months.
14 months.
Yeah.
It's good to give an idea.
Yeah.
So people say, well, was it 1 month? Was it 14 months?
14 months, and it's a learning experience. Anyone that does something for the first time is going to learn something. We had a little bit of a glitch with our editor and a miscommunication on what we thought editing was supposed to be and what kind of editing we got back. So that ended up delaying the process another 2 months and blah, blah, blah. But you have to do something one time and then you learn it.
Trial by error and all that. And
right.
And we're doing that here at Meet the Host too.
Yeah.
Couple more questions and we want to let you out of here. As a host, or maybe even when you're teaching hosts, what's the toughest question to ask? Is there a toughest question to ask, or is there an area where you go,
for me, and this is something that I see a little bit more with women, we tend to shy away from being controversial.
Okay.
Guys will go in there a little more heavily. Women, I think just by the nature of being female and the way society has raised us, we're supposed to be, non-confrontational. So one of the biggest challenges that I've had as a host is giving myself mental permission to be a little jabby with the guest. And again, my advice around that would be remove yourself and what your thoughts and needs and wants are and focus on what is going to be the best viewing experience for the audience. If you can do that, then you'll get a little more ballsy with your questions because it's not about you, it's about the audience.
Yeah, and you can feel that Katerina brings it, so I can imagine the little.
Yeah, and I can get a little jabby. Like I'm a spicy Greek girl, so I can jab.
How would you describe your style of hosting?
So mine is very conversational. Again, I like preparedness, but I always will I like to banter the way we're bantering now. I like to pretend that we're sitting in my kitchen having a cup of coffee, and I think that makes the guest feel really comfortable.
I feel like they're there with you, or they.
Yeah, and again, my advice to the hosts, because hosts watch the show, and as a host, do trust in your instincts. I had an interview that I had done with a gentleman who sold his company to Berkshire Hathaway for $200 million. It was a diamond company. And he was on my show. He was about 70 years old. And I was asking him some questions. And I kind of went out on a bit of a limb. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but it had to do with China. And he had been to China, and I had been to China. China was not in my questions. But again, as a host, you listen for the gold, right? So I take this nugget, and I run with it. At the end of the interview, he comes up to me, and he says, I've been interviewed on CNN, NBC, Fox. He goes, this was one of the most enjoyable interviews. And I have to tell you, as a host, right, I thought that was a massive compliment.
It's a huge compliment.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So I thought, wow, so I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Well, you're doing more than just something right. Which brings us, you talked about, a great compliment. This is where I want to know two things.
Sure.
What's the future for Katerina?
What's the future for Katerina? Katerina is starting to take her own limits away and really play into this place of infinite possibility. What does that look like? I have no idea, but I know that I literally have scratched 20% of the surface of contribution, of value, of service, of excitement, of impact. Like I'm pretty alive right now. You can see that. I'm turning 42 pretty soon. So like time is now, you know?
Time is now. And that what a great mindset to use no matter who you are, where you are, and when you start, because as you through this entire interview talked about that you got to start somewhere. I mean, you gave us the Martha Stewart example, starting at 56, now she's hanging out with Snoop Dogg.
Well, and it's crazy because I saw a picture, literally I was scrolling Instagram the other day, and there was a picture of J-Lo.
Yeah.
I screenshotted it because my jaw just about dropped open. The woman is 49 years old, okay?
Yeah.
And she looked stunning. And I'm thinking, if she's looking like that at almost 50, right? What we need to get out of this construct of somehow aging is bad.
No, and really we got to go into the construct of age is just a number.
Right. Yeah.
And so
it really is.
because what you're saying, if you can get over the age thing on a personal level and use that mindset that you are empowering people with and creating, then the sky is the limit, and the possibilities are endless.
Well, and the thing that I've come to recognize, Mike, is my unique brilliance is literally empowering confidence. You know, I believe it's never too late to try. I take a powerful stand for your ability to step into your dreams. And as a premium transformational leading expert in my field of media and communications, you know, I'm developing platforms now to help you gain that platform so that you can magnify your purpose and your impact and your message. And that's what really gets me excited in the morning. It's because, I'm doing stuff that I'm genuinely passionate about, but how can we help other people that are genuinely passionate, right? And again, it's that collective uplifting, which is going to change the game.
And I can tell you from just sitting across from you right here, right now, I'm feeling more confident hearing all the tips, and we're going to be using them moving forward. Last question, and of course, hosts are following this. You know, agents, everyone in the hosting industry. Meet the Host is a complete brand for industry news, advice, tips, resources. Great, you know, knowledge dropping from you. What's just a final tip?
Final tip for anyone in the hosting world?
Anyone in hosting, speaking, anything, just from Katerina. I mean, because I know what my final tip is going to be, and it's basically to you know, go to KaterinaCozias.com and learn more, because what you've done in our conversation is clearly demonstrate how much you have to give and how great you know, the building of you know, your speaking and the confidence and the charisma and building it and putting it as a package. You've got it going on.
I'm going to let you guys know something that I'm really I have lived it, so this is coming really straight from my heart. You have to dare to suck. You have to dare to suck, or you're going to remain stuck. I got to Hollywood. I got up in front of an agent the first time, and I bombed like no one's business, Mike. I bombed. Like, I was like, you know that hook back in the 1930s where they used to pull the guy and get him off the stage? I was looking for someone to please come and hook me. I was fucking terrible. And I had imploded my entire life to come out to Hollywood to live this dream. And the first time I get up there, I bombed. So I had a choice that next day, right? I could have gotten up and gone home, or I could have gotten up and tried again. And I got up and I tried again. I got media training for 3 years on how to show up on camera, on how to do this, on how to do that. I coupled it with my international experience. And because I dared to suck, now I'm driving my dream car down Rodeo Drive. You know?
Great parting words. Dare to suck. So true. I mean, you can't be afraid to fail. You have to fail forward, essentially. You know, everybody's going to go through, you know, periods of learning. Everyone started somewhere. So as a host, as a speaker, in any industry, you had to start somewhere to get somewhere. And everything that you've said from the start of our conversation has been empowering. It's demonstrated the knowledge and the ability that you have to you know, speak, but also as a host, teach.
Well, you know what? I love hosting. So, you know, if anyone from ABC or NBC or CNN is watching, I've been trying to get on with the letters for a while.
Well,
you know, but that's part of what we do here. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So, KaterinaCozias.com. You can get so much more than what you just got in this interview. I checked it out. I spent a lot of time reviewing it and just being amazed by how tremendously well it was put together. And I told you that before we came on live. It's really, really helpful. It's really great.
Cool.
If you want to hire Katerina as your next host on the Letter channels, or you need help for your branding, Media Matters, all of that stuff that you're you know, doing, America's media mindset mentor, It's really impressive.
Thank you. And check out my show Thursdays, latalkradio.com.
That's right. LA Talk Radio Thursdays, all over social media at Katerina Cozias. You have to definitely come back down the road in the future.
With updates.
With updates, for sure. We'll have you back on, Meet the Host. And
I would love to.
It's been so good for you joining us. We really, really thank you.
I love you so much. I love everything you're doing, and I look forward to supporting each other and supporting you guys.
This has been Katerina Cozias, and I am Michael Rippe. You can catch me on social media at Mike Rips. Follow the show. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're also a podcast. You'll hear this on podcast on iTunes Audio, so give us a review and rating, and we'll see you next time for Meet the Host, where we flip the script and interview hosts. Thanks so much for watching.